Well, it's funny because the next quote is from the chapter called Fundamentals. So great segue. So here E says, it amazed me to reflect on how much energy I had spent in the past trying to portray myself as this or that instead of just being me. This expenditure of vital energy was totally wasted on play acting and trying to convince others of the reality of my machinations. So that goes along, quite well with what you were saying earlier of it being an inside job. Yeah. And our energy is spent so much focused on those things of trying to convince the world that we're somebody that we're not, that we can't even be ourselves. And that leads us to being controlled by fear and those other things that you spoke about. So it's to me, that revelation that she had really sets her up for kind of the next part of the journey. But I just wanted to see, because I loved it so much, I just wanted to see, is there anything else you want to add or share about that?
Yeah, I think for me, that is like the ultimate of self-responsibility, is when we get in the absolute point of power, personal power, from a stance of being completely honest of who we are and what we've been doing, of the game we've been playing, that can we actually get real and really grow as a person. And it really comes down to, we have to understand that you have to understand like what we've been up to. What has our ego been up to? What is our insecurities? What have they propelled us to do? What is this fear that we're not enough, that we're insufficient, who we are? What does that drive us to do? What happens is it drives us to pretend we're okay, and pretend this instead of being okay and just being the amazing people we are. We start playing at this and playing at that and putting on the mirage of this and that. Oh, I can accomplish this and this, or I'm not going to accomplish it. I'm going to be the rebel. I'm going to be this, I'm that. And it's just all these, like I say, the machinations in your mind of trying to, like an ego mind, trying to make it all like work out and make sense and be okay. And it's a game. It's a game we're playing with ourselves. We just have to call it for what it is, and then just get back and, okay, I'm going to let all that pass away, and what's going to be left is me. And then from there, oh my God, when you finally know who you are, you finally tap into the place to come to know yourself. That self is just far more than anything you ever pretended to be. Far more, and it's real. So that is, like I say, that's a fundamental place in everybody's life that you really need to come to, self-honesty.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, makes perfect sense. That's fabulous. So juicy, such juicy stuff.
I know, I love this stuff.
Me too. So here are some words from Erda to E. As I think they're soon going to be parting ways for I don't know how long. We'll find out. But they're parting ways. And she says, there are many things for you to accomplish. The world will change because you have changed. Remember that not everyone is ready to be part of that change. Some will say they are, and yet they're not. Others will pretend they're not ready, and yet they're perfectly ready and perfectly primed. Like people, some things will not be as they present themselves to be, and yet some things will be exactly as they seem to be. Your staff will help light the way, but your inner eye will be the most important light to shine. It will show you the truth of any given situation. So that instruction for E, after everything she's been through and this next phase of journey that she's about to go through, and I'm assuming setting her up for the other books too, it seems like that's guidance for not just E, but for all of us, because if we're interested, if we got that far in the book, we're interested in this stuff, and we realize that we do have a responsibility to do the inner work and to be the change that we want to see in the world. And I just would love to hear any more insights you have about that, or if you can give us any little hints about what's to come.
Oh, well, let's do all of that. So first, is the big is not to get fooled by the perceived nature of things. And
Yes.
so often, like, because everybody's doing their little dance for the most part, and somebody you're really feeling this and that, but you're doing this over here or that. So don't get fooled by, oh, well, they seem so nice and they're so this or that. And oh my God, no, they may be a wolf in sheep's clothing. And the minute you turn your back, they're gone with your stuff or something. It's like just, we have to be very, very, not in fear, but let's be wise and let's be cautious. Let's give things, if we're not sure, let's give things some time to show, to present themselves what they really are. And especially with people and with circumstances and stuff. So I think her warning is for her is just to be, to be wise about it, be the good shepherd, just, give things space and don't be quick to evaluate things. Don't be quick to cast judgment. Because so often that's just based on our own machinations, what we want to see in the other person, because it's going to give us what we think we need. So our game, like, it's the first book is very interesting because it's E in her private journey, it's very few characters in it. It's a very deep, intimate path as that pathway is. And then when E comes out into the second book, there is going to be a whole other cast of characters. There's a whole world to confront, and things get much more complex. And so she is going to be up against circumstances and people and things, and it's just like, wow, like, how do you take that whole experience and now live it? And so that's the challenge for her, and the challenge for writing the next book. It's well underway. But yeah, so she really wants to set her up to be realistic. She's had this amazing experience, but it's been done almost like in an incubator where she's very safe for it. But when she is, out on her own, those guardrails in some ways are down, yet they're always there, because that's the inner eye, your inner vision, the third eye that knows. And for all of us, we have to, honor that, and we have to honor that gut feelings, that knowing. I look back at my life and I think, like, all the things that were like kind of, and there's plenty of them that I think were really maybe like decisions I shouldn't have made, and every single one of them that something was telling me not to, like every single one, like I can't get pissed off at anybody. If I want to get pissed off with, I have to take responsibility, because I knew, there's something inside me that said, are you sure it's really what you want to do? Are you, and I was like, blaze away at that point in my life. Boy, I'm just was headstrong and I'm doing it. And then later it's like, oh, geez, but it's like I knew better. And, but I was not honoring myself. I was not honoring those feelings, and as I've grown and understood more about the design of my being, design of everybody's being, that of where the communication comes from, that third eye, that inner vision that can see those things. And as we pay attention and honor that gets stronger and stronger. And then I feel like that's when the blend comes of a full human being. That's the blend of like an Erda, of a woman in their power, a man in their power, is when we're blending that fullness of who we are, not just the physical outside, but the inside too. And there's nothing wrong. We have an ego for a reason, but the ego we've been identified with that and that alone. And that's a problem. It's definitely gone amok, but it's there for a reason. And we can just harmonize all of that. And, in the next book, she comes across is united with a group on a mission. So she's not on her own. She finds, other spirits that are just amazing cast of characters that are like Erdas. They are each have their own unique perspective and capabilities and stuff. But every single one of them is what she say, this powerfully and unflinchingly aligned with the truth and doing the right thing in spite of how it feels, in spite of what anybody says, in spite of what the world thinks. They don't give a you know what. And it's this core group that it's going to be quite the adventure with it. So it's nice to see her take the whole thing to another level of what happens after we start coming in our power and we start like waking up and things. It's like the challenges come, and the challenges I think get bigger and bigger over time. And the more power we have, the more we can handle. I believe we're never given more than we can handle, but it's always that, I think, that razor's edge of, oh geez, oh no, what am I gonna do with this? What am I gonna do with that? So that part of the book was just Erda just being real, being the Erda, being the mentor, being realistic and saying, like, my child, you're going into the world and think about these things. And, she takes them absolutely to heart. She knows her life depends on that. And, throughout the second book, she'll be remembering these things, and she'll remember more and understand more of what Erda said, because, her words of wisdom were very deep and have many layers to them, and you will cover those as she's actually living and trying to apply them and see the challenges with them. So.
Thank you. I can't wait for the next one. Just
it's a process. I'm thick in it now. You're like, it laughs so funny because I am not particularly like a morning person, but writing books now is like, when spirit moves and it starts coming in, the ideas, and especially when I'm really quiet at night and in the dark, and I really feel like I can go and I visualize these things. It's almost like a movie in my mind and working it through. And it's like, oh darn, I just got to get up and like type it. So I'm up at like 4:00 in the morning, typing away, and getting it done, and it's
wow,
quite a process. But it's underway, the second one, so it'll be sometime next year that'll come out.
Great.